What is up? Good Mic Work Commentaries back at you with episode 469. I am your host, Greg Morgan. Survivor Series 2017 weekend is in the books, and that was a very interesting 4 days of wrestling. Survivor Series seems to be getting positive reviews from the fans overall, at least more positive than negative. NXT TakeOver on Saturday night, of course, was off the hook. Raw was a decent show, but not great. We had a couple of surprises on that show and a title change. And Smackdown kind of sucked this week. So that seems to be the opinions I've been hearing so far. The general consensus from all of you seems to be geared in that direction. So I'm going to get into all of it here. I'll talk about Raw. I'm going to talk about Smackdown, what we're looking at going forward to the Royal Rumble and Clash of Champions in December. I'll probably elaborate a little bit more on Survivor Series and maybe mention a thing or two about NXT TakeOver as well. And if there's anything else going on news-wise in wrestling, I will get into that. Before we get into Raw and Smackdown, though, I do want to mention a couple of things to you. First of all, for those of you that didn't know or didn't see it, I was up here on Sunday night immediately following Survivor Series with a live review. I did advertise that episode 468 was going to be a live show. I kind of wanted to test that out, test the waters on a post-pay-per-view live commentary, and if the views were good and the response was good, it might be something I will start doing for all pay-per-views. And the response was really good. A lot of you guys tuned in live for that and were participating in the comments section, and it was a lot of fun. I was up here for 2.5 hours discussing Survivor Series, discussing NXT TakeOver, and just discussing a lot of stuff. Now, those are very, very different than my podcasts. They're not as streamlined because I'm kind of all over the place. I'm talking to you guys. I'm switching gears. I'm changing subjects a lot, and I don't really have, a nice format for those shows because they're very casual and it's just me sitting there drinking beer, talking with all of you guys. But I did get into what we saw on the show and all of the results and offered some opinions on them, and it was a lot of fun. So if you guys have not seen episode 468, the link is in the top right-hand corner of the screen there. You can check that out. And I had so much fun doing that live review on Sunday night that on Monday night after Raw, because I was home, I happened to be home and I was off and I had nowhere to be and I had nothing to do, I thought just for the hell of it that I would come up and do a live Raw review as well. And that was also very casual. The link to that is up there on the screen as well. I did that on Monday night and I just kind of casually came up and talked about Raw and just basically chit-chatted with all of you for about an hour and a half. So I've talked a lot about Survivor Series and TakeOver and Raw already so far, but this is my normal weekly episode, and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on both of those shows and what we're looking at going forward in the future and entering 2018. Since I have a lot of new listeners and a lot of new ears and eyes on this channel because of the influx of subscribers in the past few days, I just want to welcome all of the new listeners aboard. If you have not yet subscribed to me, please do. And if you like this commentary, please give it a like. I'm very into likes. I like to get my like count up as high as possible. I've got an excellent ratio, and I love you guys for that. So if you enjoy it, please like it. I've got a second channel. You can sub that too. Link is in the description below. I have a website, goodmicworkcommentaries.com. You can download this episode in podcast form over there if you would like. I am also available on iTunes and Stitcher Radio, and you can follow me on social media. I've got a Facebook page. Please give that a like. I'm approaching 2,000 likes on that page. And on Twitter, you can follow me at goodmicwork, and I'm probably the most active on Twitter. And again, the links to all of this stuff is in the description below. So I just want to welcome all of the new listeners. Now that all that nonsense is out of the way, I can start getting into Raw and Smackdown, right? Wrong. Not quite yet. One more thing I want to say to you guys, and I want to wish all of my listeners here in the United States a very happy, healthy, and safe holiday weekend. We, of course, have Thanksgiving coming up here on Thursday, and it's a big American holiday, as most of you know. It's a time to be with your family, and it really kickstarts the holidays, and now it's just going to be fucking Christmas trees and Santa for the next 35 fucking days. But Thanksgiving can be a lot of fun, especially if you have a big family and you're close with your family. It's a good time to be with them and be together, kick back, eat some turkey, drink some beer, watch some football. I will be enjoying myself on Thanksgiving, and I hope that each and every one of you here in the United States does the same. For the rest of you, I wish you an awesome weekend as well. As far as next week goes, I will probably be up here regular time in about a week with episode 470. I don't think I'm going to have time to come up and do a live review, although Monday night is a possibility. I think I'm going to be home, at least right now. My schedule might change, but if I'm home and I got nothing to do, I will probably come up and do another live Raw review this coming Monday, but I can't promise that. a week early because I really just don't know what my schedule is going to be like. So you definitely want to keep an eye out to my YouTube channel. You might hear from me on Monday. If not, I'll be up here at my regularly scheduled time with episode 470. Now we can finally start talking about Raw and Smackdown. I'm going to start with Raw first. I'm going to kind of blow through this show. Like I said, I talked about this a lot in my impromptu live review on Monday night. So if you want to hear more about my thoughts on Monday Night Raw, and if you didn't hear as much here as you wanted to, you can always check out that video. But the show opens up with a Stephanie McMahon promo. Yes, after all that nonsense we saw at Survivor Series and that goofy-ass finish to that 5-on-5 main event, of course, things are just going to get better and better, and we're going to open Raw with Stephanie fucking McMahon. I mentioned in my last commentary going on a little bit of a Stephanie rant there, how I'm just sick and tired of her face and her voice and her attitude and her character, and I'm just fucking over it. I really turned on her in the past year or two. She's just become way too over the top, way too obnoxious, and just a way too degrading to the talent, and she's such a mega bitch from hell. I just cannot stomach her anymore. And she's out there talking about and gloating about how Raw won at Survivor Series, brings out Triple H, gives him this big introduction. He comes out there. Before he can say anything, Kurt Angle immediately comes out, gets in Triple H's face, threatens him not to ever do what he did at Survivor Series to him again. And then Jason Jordan also comes out. He's pissed off, of course, because last week Triple H not only took his spot in the 5-on-5 match, but he got pedigreed by Triple H as well. So he's pissed at Triple H and he gets in his face. Then Braun Strowman comes out and stares down Triple H. So Triple H has managed to piss off a whole bunch of people, which is why I found the ending of Survivor Series even that much more confusing. It didn't make any sense. Where is this going storyline-wise? What are they building towards here? Are they building towards Triple H versus Kurt Angle? Are they building towards Triple H versus Jason Jordan? Are they building towards Triple H versus Braun Strowman? Or are they building towards Triple H and Shane McMahon? Because he, of course, pedigreed Shane and pinned him at Survivor Series and all of that. So I don't know who Triple H is going to feud with going into next year, heading into WrestleMania. I did make mention of the possibility in my Survivor Series review that maybe this is all leading to a heel turn for Jason Jordan because he's been such an over-the-top sap, such a huge pussy week after week, just a whiny little bitch in every promo, and he's so horrible, probably the worst actor in WWE right now. He's horrible. And I think maybe a heel turn or an edge or something, a killer instinct injected into this Jason Jordan character can only help him because right now he sucks a big bucket of ass. So maybe Triple H, this is all part of a master plan to fuck over Kurt Angle. Maybe Triple H takes Jason Jordan under his wing. Maybe Jason Jordan turns on Kurt Angle and aligns himself with Triple H. Maybe it turns out that Jason Jordan is Triple H's son, although I don't know how that would work. But somehow maybe Triple H and Jason Jordan form an alliance against Kurt Angle. I don't know. I'm just freestyling here. I have no idea where they're headed with any of this, and whether or not Shane McMahon gets involved, and then they start having an promotional war going into WrestleMania with Triple H versus Shane, I don't know. And unfortunately, they didn't really give us any more answers. That segment kind of just ended. The only newsworthy thing to come out of that segment is Stephanie McMahon made a match for later on in Raw, Jason Jordan taking on Braun Strowman, which Jason Jordan actually tries to get out of. Later on, you see him backstage with Kurt Angle and says that he's hurt. And Kurt Angle says, "What? I thought you said you were okay." And he goes, "Well, that's because Triple H was out there. Now I got to wrestle Strowman, and I think I'm too injured to do it." But then Kurt Angle says, "Hey, you're kind of putting me in a tight spot." And then Jason Jordan finally agrees to go ahead and wrestle Strowman. So I thought that might be them planting the seed of a heel turn, because if Jason Jordan goes out there and gets killed by Braun Strowman, he's going to blame Kurt Angle for forcing him or for guilting him into going out there. But that never even happened because Jason Jordan escaped that match without getting injured too badly because Kane interfered in the Strowman and Jordan match and injured Strowman pretty good. He came out there and attacked him and did a spot on the ring steps with the steel chair where he put it under Braun Strowman's neck and then rammed it right into the ring steps in a pretty good spot, and Strowman couldn't breathe. And the officials are trying to help him out, and he's refusing medical attention. Eventually, they say that he left the building, so he just refuses to be tended to by doctors, and he couldn't even breathe. And somehow this guy is still standing up. So I don't know where they're going with Braun Strowman and Kane. I'm guessing this is going to lead to a blow-off. I'm hoping they just do this on Monday Night Raw because we have a long time until the Royal Rumble. I believe that's the next time Raw is going to be on pay-per-view. So they got some time to kill here, and we have a big live Christmas Day show coming up next month in December that maybe, I've made the argument if WWE is going to fuck over their crew and their talent and make them work a live Raw on Christmas Day, then at least make the show something that's memorable, and it's just not your ordinary run-of-the-mill boring Raws. Make it good, book some title matches, book some blow-offs, and maybe that can be a good spot to have either a WWE title match or whatever sort of blow-off they're going to do with Kane and Braun Strowman, maybe have it there. And my big idea of Kane one day retiring and working with Strowman last, and Strowman being the one to retire Kane, it looks like that's probably not going to happen. But Kane just has no real reason to be wrestling anymore, and I just wish he could have one big final run, one final program, put somebody over, and retire. And Braun Strowman seems like the perfect guy for that. And by the way, I'm sorry if I sound a little bit funny. I'm actually kind of feeling a little bit congested, which is weird. I don't really catch colds very often, and I'm very rarely under the weather, so I'm going to get up first thing in the morning and go get a shot of wheatgrass and take some vitamins and drink some orange juice or whatever and try to knock out whatever the hell's wrong with me. So I apologize if my voice sounds a little bit off. Getting back to Raw, we'll talk about the main event here in a minute just to kind of talk about what we saw in the middle of the show. The first match we saw on Raw was Samoa Joe taking on Finn Balor. And this match was good, but Balor was defeated clean, passing out to the coquina clutch of Samoa Joe. So now it makes you wonder, and there's even some talk on the internet and some of the dirt sheets that maybe WWE is switching gears. There have been rumors of Finn Balor being the next challenger to Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble. But with him losing some matches recently, and here he is beat clean by Samoa Joe on Raw, they might be changing directions, and Finn Balor might be out of that Universal title picture. I would really like to see Finn Balor get back into it. You know, the way he had to forfeit the title after being injured, I would really like to see this guy come full circle. But we might have to wait on that. They might be going in a different direction with Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble, and of course, whatever Brock winds up doing at WrestleMania. But I'll talk more about that in a minute when I get into Roman Reigns. We also had Asuka beating the shit out of Dana Brooke in a match. That was fun to watch. Dean Ambrose defeated Sheamus in a one-on-one match. We also had what started out to be a really crappy women's segment. Alexa Bliss is in the ring cutting a promo. She, of course, is very mad about losing to Charlotte at Survivor Series. She is then interrupted by Mickie James, by Bayley, by Sasha. They all come out to the ring individually. Each one of them say a bunch of stupid things on the mic. And it was a horrible segment. I was falling asleep. I was getting annoyed. And in my head, I'm thinking, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. Right in the middle of the match, we hear Paige's music hit. And she comes out. Paige is back. She returns. She returns to a mega pop from the audience. They went nuts for her. And I thought that was awesome. She looked pretty good. She was wearing a lot of makeup. I don't know what that was about. I'm not a fan of the big bright red lipstick and all that shit, but she still looked pretty good, looked to be in decent shape, cut a halfway decent promo as well, and then goes on to say that she didn't come alone. And you're like, what does she mean by that? And then out of nowhere, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville from NXT hit the ring. They attack the babyfaces, beat the hell out of Mickie James, Bayley, and Sasha. Paige then comes down to the ring and gets involved, and she grabs a hold of Bayley and hits her with the Rampage, which I liked because it does not get any more opposite from Bayley than Paige. So I liked that Paige singled her out and attacked her. That was awesome. And then the three of them, they don't care if it's heels or babyfaces, because after they're done beating the shit out of the babyfaces, backstage they run into Alexa Bliss and they beat up her as well. So they're kind of doing like a female Shield here, or a female NWO, or whatever the hell they're doing. I don't know. I'm glad to see Paige back. Hopefully WWE uses her. She's still a good wrestler, one of the more credible ones they have there. And she is attached to a lot of controversy, of course. She was involved in that horrible toxic relationship with Alberto Del Rio. She was constantly making a fool out of herself with him. The both of them were. And she was acting really immature. And the two of them, I was worried for Paige's job there for a while because she seemed to be really starting to lose it. And not to mention the sex tape drama that came out with her banging half of the WWE roster. So I don't know what WWE's plans are for Paige. I mentioned in my last commentary that maybe they are going to punish her a little bit. Maybe she's got to come back and do some jobs at first. But with her aligning with these NXT girls, they seem like a faction that's going to be pushed. And I couldn't be happier. I think Raw and both brands, and I'll talk about Smackdown in a minute, but both brands really needed this injection of some new faces into the women's divisions. We now have 3 new women added to the Raw women's roster. That's pretty big because the entire women's roster on both shows seems like it consists of like 6 women, and that's it. So the more the merrier, in my opinion. And as we would see on SmackDown, we would get 3 more over there. So both women's divisions got a huge shot in the arm. We have 6 brand new girls coming up to the main roster. I don't know what they're setting up here for. I don't know if this is possibly going to lead to a women's Royal Rumble down the line. Maybe it's going to lead to a women's tag team title. I don't really want to see either one of those. Maybe the Royal Rumble is possible, but as far as a tag team title, I don't think that either roster has enough women to sustain something like that. If it was one women's division and there was no brand extension, then yes, I think there's enough females on the roster where a tag team title would work, but not currently with the brand split the way it is now. So even though we have a lot of new females on the main roster, it's still not enough to generate a tag team title, in my opinion. If they're going for something else like a Royal Rumble, I don't know. I just think that it's good that the WWE is beefing up the women's rosters. They need that because if you're the women's champion, that just means you're the champion of 6 people. It's not like the WWE champion where you're the champion of 50 people. So the women's divisions are very small, and they need more females in there, and I'm happy that both brands have taken steps to do that. So really glad to see Paige back, and hopefully those 3 ladies as a faction will make a big splash on Monday Night Raw. As far as what else we saw on the show, we had an 8-man cruiserweight tag team match that I didn't pay much attention to. I believe that was Rich Swann, Cedric Alexander, Akira Tozawa, and Mustafa Ali. They defeated Drew Gulak, Noam Dar, Tony Nese, and Daivari, which is Enzo Zo-Train, I think he is calling them, and his little faction and his little group of supporters. And Drew Gulak continues to impress. As a matter of fact, I saw a little clip of him from 205 Live where he was dressed up as the Gobbledygooker and did some sort of a little segment there. So that guy is extremely entertaining, and I think Drew Gulak has got a bright future in WWE. Other than that, we had an Elias segment on Raw where he is trying to sing another song. Matt Hardy then interrupts. They brawl a little bit, and Matt Hardy runs him off. Elias, of course, beat Matt Hardy on the kickoff show at Survivor Series, so you got to think with 50-50 booking that Matt Hardy will probably get a rematch next week and get his win back. That's pretty much all we saw on Raw aside from the main event. The main event was Roman Reigns versus The Miz for the Intercontinental title. This was set up on Miz TV when Miz was going to have Roman Reigns as his guest. Roman comes out with the entire Shield. They start trading words with the Miztourage. A big brawl ensues. The Shield beats the hell out of Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas as the Miz retreats. During that segment is when Roman Reigns challenged the Miz for the Intercontinental title. They made that match as the main event of Monday Night Raw. And you kind of had a feeling, usually after these pay-per-views, title changes are likely to happen. They usually like to give us good Raws and good Smackdowns. And the way the whole thing was kind of put together, and Roman Reigns reforming with the Shield recently, I didn't think it was a good situation for Roman Reigns not to win the title because the Shield needs to be unstoppable. They need to be winning their matches right now. And for Roman Reigns to be involved in a match where there's going to be outside interference, if he does anything other than come away with the Intercontinental title, in my opinion, the Shield would look weak. Because if it's the Shield versus the Miztourage, the Shield should easily chew those guys up and spit them out. So I figured if Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel and Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose are all involved, at the end of the day, the Shield is going to come out on top of this thing. And Roman Reigns wound up beating The Miz for the Intercontinental title, becoming a Grand Slam champion. He's now held every belt. It's a belt that he has not held yet. The crowd even seemed to pop for it, seemed to be okay with it. A lot of people are on Team Miz right now, myself included. I think The Miz is awesome. I would love to see this guy get another run with the world title. I think now he's ready. Back in 2011, I think he was undeserving. Now he's proved himself as a character, proved himself on the mic. He's not horrible in the ring, and he's good. He's just a great character, and I think he can be trusted. He can always cut a good promo, always have a good segment. Even the things he did this year with John Cena and Nikki Bella, all that stuff was gold. So if The Miz is dropping the Intercontinental title now, maybe he's moving on to something bigger in the future later on in 2018, whenever the hell Brock drops the belt. I don't know. But now we have Roman Reigns as the Intercontinental Champion. What are they going to do with that? How long is Roman going to hold on to the belt? Is this just a title reign to keep him busy, to give him something to do? Or does this actually mean something? Is Miz going to win it back right away at the Royal Rumble or something like that? I don't know. And now you got to wonder if Sheamus and Cesaro will wind up dropping the tag belts back to the Shield. And then you can have Roman, Seth, and Dean all holding titles. That's a very big possibility. So if they go in that direction, I think that will be a lot of fun. The Shield will be decorated in gold, and they can do that little thing before they finally break up or whatever. And I even mentioned in my Survivor Series, my Raw review on Monday, that maybe they're building to a Hogan and Warrior type situation where Roman goes into WrestleMania as the Intercontinental Champion to face Brock Lesnar, the Universal Champion, and maybe technically it's title for title. And there's also been some talk that because it appears that WWE might not be going with Brock Lesnar versus Finn Balor at the Royal Rumble, maybe they're going to fast track Roman Reigns and do that match with Brock in January. It's possible. I mean, it seems like Roman and Brock has been the plan for the past year, but maybe WWE feels like that's too predictable. The fans see it coming, but then again, we've seen the other two WrestleManias coming. We knew Roman Reigns was going to defeat Triple H at 32, and we knew he was going to defeat The Undertaker at 33. So if he goes into 34 to face Brock, we know Roman is going to win. Maybe WWE realizes that, and they want to do it at the Rumble instead. Or maybe it's two matches. Maybe Roman beats Brock at Rumble, wins the belt, and then there's a rematch at Mania, or vice versa. I think one scenario could be Roman Reigns challenges Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble, and maybe Dean Ambrose turns heel. So there's no telling what's going on in WWE's head, and they might very well be getting Brock and Roman out of the way early in January and giving us some different matches for WrestleMania. I would have no problem with that. I would like to see Roman and Brock. I know a lot of people hate Roman and they're terrified that he would win, but Roman and Brock worked well together at 31. And Brock Lesnar is getting to the point now, although he did have a kick-ass match with AJ Styles that is really going to help. But a lot of fans have been annoyed with Brock. They feel like he's one-dimensional. He just throws German suplexes. Paul Heyman comes out there and does all his talking for him. He never wrestles. He's hardly ever on the show. And he's kind of, you know how Goldberg did last year? He was just overstaying his welcome a little bit. And Brock now holding that belt for so long, maybe WWE has been counting on the fans being really sour on Brock by the time he gets into the ring with Roman, and they're actually going to be happy that Roman wins. But I don't know what their plans are right now for Roman Reigns, for the Intercontinental title, for him and the Shield, how long they're going to stay together, and if that's going to go beyond the Royal Rumble and into WrestleMania, and whatever type of split or whatever type of heel turn they do to break them up again, if it's going to have huge consequences like Roman dropping a belt or something like that. So right now, I think everything is up in the air. Whatever they decide to do with the WWE Universal title match at the Royal Rumble, I just hope it's good, and I hope Brock works with an opponent that we want to see him work with. I would be fine with Roman. I'd be fine with Finn Balor. I don't know if they do Joe again, probably not. I seriously doubt Jason Jordan is going to get a title match anytime soon. Braun Strowman already lost to him, and Braun Strowman is tied up with Kane and whatever the hell's going on with Triple H and a bunch of other shit. So you really don't know where they're going with Brock in January and then, of course, into WrestleMania. So I would love to hear all of your opinions on that. Where do you think it will go? What do you think it is going to lead to? How good do you think it's going to be? How bad do you think it's going to suck? Whatever you want to say about it, I'm curious to know what you guys think about Roman Reigns' future as the Intercontinental Champion, where The Miz goes from here, where the Shield goes from here, and where Brock goes from here, and where everybody goes from here. So that is pretty much your Raw in a nutshell. Not that great of a show. I think Roman winning the IC title was significant, and it was really awesome to see Paige return and bring two NXT girls with her. Other than that, it was just, a so-so show. Raw definitely was better than Smackdown this week, but overall, Raw was nothing spectacular. Now, let's move into Smackdown. This show was kind of bad because, as been the case with Smackdown lately, they keep changing shit up on social media. In the past couple of weeks, they've done a lot of switching gears on Twitter. They have announced out of the blue that John Cena was going to round out the SmackDown 5-man team at Survivor Series. They changed the AJ Styles-Rusev match into AJ Styles and Jinder Mahal, where AJ won the belt. Now we're supposed to have a rematch this week on SmackDown between AJ and Jinder, and WWE changes that again, and instead has nixed the match, and they're going with AJ and Jinder at Clash of the Champions. So I'll talk about that here in a minute. Let's just start with what SmackDown opened with, and that was a Shane McMahon promo. He, of course, is not happy that SmackDown lost 4-3 to Raw, but he said that they are anything but the B show, and everybody on the SmackDown brand fights for that show, except for two guys, and those two guys are Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. He demands they come out to the ring. They come out there, they're goofing off, they're showing Shane McMahon no respect at all, and he's about to fire the both of them when he says, "I've got 2 words for you," or whatever, and then Daniel Bryan comes out. So they're teasing a little bit of this dissension between Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon. You can tell this is leading to something. They did this last week. Daniel Bryan really wasn't happy about Shane McMahon leading, the Raw invasion of the SmackDown guys, and then he wound up getting chokeslammed by Kane for it. And he told Shane McMahon that they're going to have a conversation after Survivor Series and get a few things straight. And here Daniel Bryan comes out and basically stops Shane McMahon from firing the two guys and instead puts Owens and Zayn in a lumberjack match against the New Day in the main event. And Shane is actually okay with that. He's a bit surprised, but he's okay with it. And later on backstage, they have another conversation where Shane says, hey, I was really surprised about some of the decisions you made, but it's quite genius to put Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens in a lumberjack match because the entire roster is pissed off at them, so they're all going to be able to get their hands on them all in one match. So he says after that, what needs to happen is Owens and Zayn are going to lose. They're going to get the shit beaten out of them by the entire roster, and that's when you go out there and fire them. And I'm going to go back to my hotel and kick my shoes off and relax and watch this all unfold and take place. I'll see you later, Daniel Bryan. So Shane McMahon leaves, expecting that after the match, Daniel Bryan is going to fire the two of them. But Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn wind up winning the lumberjack match. All the lumberjacks are pissed off at them, and they start kicking their asses throughout the whole match. But then they start brawling with each other. And all the lumberjacks are in the ring, and it's this big brawl. And as the dust settles and all the confusion is going on, Kofi Kingston gets rolled up by Sami Zayn, and he gets the pin, and Owens and Zayn win the match. And I think Rusev and Aiden English were kind of helping out there. They were approached backstage by Owens and Zayn earlier on, trying to recruit them onto their side. And they did help Kevin Owens escape a little bit. But at the end, Sami Zayn got caught in there by himself with the entire New Day. So Owens escapes through the crowd. He's gone. Zayn is in the ring by himself, and the New Day beat the shit out of him. So as of right now, Owens and Zayn are not fired. I imagine next week Shane McMahon's going to be mad that they're still there. They even teased going over to Raw. There was some segment WWE uploaded on their YouTube page where they were talking to Stephanie McMahon after the Survivor Series, and she kind of thanked them and offered them a spot on the Raw roster if they wanted to make the jump. So I don't know where they're going with this and what we'll see next week. But eventually, you know that Owens and Zayn might start having some issues, and Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon are definitely also having some issues. I don't know if this is a way to eventually get one of the two of them off of TV. Maybe Shane is going to go away for a while. Maybe Daniel Bryan is going to go away for a while. So maybe they need to create some sort of a conflict there between the two in order to set up a situation where they're written off of TV. So I don't know where it's going to lead. It clearly, it can't lead to a match because we know Daniel Bryan is not cleared by WWE, which is a shame. So it would be cool. Daniel Bryan and Shane can mix it up physically, but I don't think it's ever going to get to that. But eventually, one of them is probably going to have to leave. I think WWE might shake things up on SmackDown, bring in a new face. We've had a couple of GMs on Raw already, so maybe SmackDown is due for somebody new to be in charge and a new face to be on TV. And Daniel Bryan might be the one to go when it's all said and done. But I might be looking way ahead here. This might not be something that even takes place until next year, WrestleMania time or whatever. But they're starting to tease issues between Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan. The other big news on SmackDown, of course, I mentioned the three new ladies that debuted on Raw on the Raw roster. In that women's division, we also had three ladies debut on SmackDown. And they don't debut in a ring. They don't hit the ring and attack anybody at first. They cut backstage, and Naomi is back there with the makeup lady, getting her makeup and her hair done. And she's approached by Ruby Riott. So there's one right there. Holy shit, Ruby Riott is on SmackDown. She's talking shit to Naomi. And she goes, let me introduce you to my friends, Sarah Logan, and my sister, Liv Morgan. Of course, the Morgans are a big wrestling family. You've got Greg Morgan, you've got Matt Morgan, my brother, and now our little sister, Liv Morgan, is on the main roster. So good for her. The three of them start attacking Naomi, beat the crap out of her. Becky Lynch tries to come in and make the save and gets absolutely destroyed. And they even slam like a big door right into her ribs. And she's wincing in pain, sold it very well in a pretty big segment and a pretty good beatdown there. And then later on, Charlotte was taking on Natalya. Natalya was getting her rematch from last week. So this is a women's title match. And just a couple of minutes into the match, the three ladies, Ruby Riott, Sarah Logan, and Morgan, show up again and attack not only Natalya, but also Charlotte. And they stand over Charlotte's body to close out the segment. So those three ladies are there kind of doing the same thing that Paige and her faction are doing over on Monday Night Raw. They seem to be a unit, they seem to be a group, and they seem to be some ass kickers. So now the SmackDown women's division looks decent and the Raw women's division looks decent. And I'm happy that both of those divisions got a little boost, got some new faces, got some fresh talent. We got some new matches now, and that can be hugely beneficial, I think, to both women's divisions on Raw and SmackDown. So happy to see everybody make their debut there, and I wish all of those ladies nothing but the best. I hope their time on the main roster is a huge success. That's a lot of women gone from NXT at once. I know we just had the Mae Young Classic, which WWE was able to sign a lot of females from that, so there are a lot of new faces out there. But I was surprised to see, 5 of them leave NXT at once. That's a pretty big deal. But it's good for Raw and SmackDown, and I hope it all works out. What else did we see on SmackDown? AJ Styles, of course, cut a promo. I mentioned this earlier on. He was supposed to defend the WWE title against Jinder Mahal on SmackDown, which I thought would have been a perfect place if they want to put the belt back on Jinder, because he just came off... he's 48 hours removed from a match with Brock Lesnar. He's hurt, he's banged up, he's not 100%. Now would be the perfect time to where he can lose the belt and not really lose face. But they changed it. AJ Styles came out to the ring, cut a promo, talked about his loss to Brock Lesnar, said that he gave it everything he had, and the crowd showed him a lot of love. And Paul Heyman, gave him respect after the match as well. So the fans seem to really appreciate the performance by AJ Styles, and they are not holding it against him that he lost to Brock Lesnar. That's what I said in my previous commentaries. I said I don't want to hear anybody freaking out that AJ needs to beat Brock or has to beat Brock or anything like that. He can go out there and steal the show, and in a losing effort, gain a shit ton of respect from the fans and from Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar, we saw that at Survivor Series. He did sell his ass off for AJ, and AJ even mentioned in his promo that, yeah, I might have lost, but I wasn't the one limping after the match. Brock was. So AJ took Brock to the limit, and I think he earned the respect of everybody. However, I will say that I'm very worried, and I'm pretty convinced that he's going to be dropping that belt back to Jinder Mahal at the Clash of Champions. If they would have done it on SmackDown, that would have sucked, kind of. Yes, it would have given AJ an excuse because he just worked with Brock, but that would be 2 losses within 3 days. He would lose at Survivor Series to Brock, and then he would drop the title 2 days later. It would be a horrible week for AJ Styles. So maybe let him run with the belt for a few more weeks. He's going to go into Clash of the Champions now to face Jinder Mahal right after the India tour. So Jinder is going to be on that tour without the title. So if they want to pick things back up and pick up where they left off with Jinder, they could conceivably give that belt back to him at the Clash of Champions. If they don't, then the Jinder Mahal character is dead. It's dead. WWE invested a lot in that, but if he now gets his rematch with AJ and gets beat clean, what do they do with Jinder Mahal? Do they drop him down a notch on the card and now he's going to be feuding for the United States title? I really don't know what they do with that Jinder character. Now, if it was up to me, I would keep the belt on AJ forever. I don't want to see Jinder Mahal win the title, so don't misunderstand what I'm saying here, but I just think, just knowing the WWE how they are, that there's a very good chance that Jinder Mahal could get that belt back. So I don't necessarily want that to happen, but right now that's kind of my early prediction. I think if they're changing this match and they're nixing the title match on SmackDown to move it to the pay-per-view, they might want to do a title change. They might want to put the belt back on Jinder. Putting it on AJ really seemed like a last-minute decision, a way to give the fans a nice treat, a really good match. AJ versus Brock was a million times better than Jinder and Brock could have ever been, and maybe that was the only plan. Maybe that's the only reason why AJ is holding that belt, is so he could work with Brock. And now they might have to take it back off of him to give it to Jinder Mahal. So that's possible, and right now I'm probably going to predict Jinder to win the belt back at Clash of the Champions. I don't know how, and I don't know why, but I just think that he's going to. Knowing WWE the way they are, how much they've done with this character, trying to build up Jinder Mahal, even though he brings zero credibility to the WWE title. I understand that. It's not going to change WWE's mind if they are hell-bent on making this guy a major player. So we'll have to wait and see what happens at Clash of the Champions. That show is coming up, I believe, on December 17th. So we're just a few weeks away from that. We'll have to see how the build goes on television now. Now we got 4 more weeks of AJ, getting attacked by the Singh brothers and all that shit. We saw that in his promo too, because after Jinder Mahal comes up on the Titantron, AJ calls him out right there and says, let's do a title match right now. Jinder says, no, we'll do it when I'm ready. And then AJ is attacked from behind by the Singh brothers, but he ends up turning the tables on them, beating the hell out of them, and then staring down Jinder on the screen to close out the segment. So You know, I know a lot of fans aren't too happy about the situation. Enjoy AJ with that belt as much as you can. I know I'm going to. AJ is so awesome, and he's so great in the ring, and I think he should be WWE champion for a long time. But let me ask you this, because we already saw earlier on this year, it was the Royal Rumble, wasn't it? Wasn't it John Cena versus AJ Styles for the WWE title? Even though that was a great match, and the fans even showed John Cena props after that match, they didn't even seem too pissed off that he beat AJ for the title. That's how good the match was. Do we really want to see that again, though? If they're going to give John Cena another title run and have him break Ric Flair's record, do you want to see him beating AJ clean again to break that record? You know, I think Jinder would be the better guy for that. And everybody hates Jinder, so maybe they'll actually be happy when John Cena beats him. So maybe Cena goes in and breaks Ric Flair's record at WrestleMania, defeating Jinder Mahal. That wouldn't even have to be the main event, technically, unless John Cena wins the Royal Rumble. I've thrown that scenario out as well, because Roman Reigns defeated him back in September. So if the two guys lock up and they face off in the Royal Rumble like they're the final two in the Royal Rumble, I think John Cena might toss Roman Reigns out to win it. And then you might actually get John Cena cheered, because at least it's not Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble in the same city that he did before and got booed out of the building even when The Rock came out. So if they did Cena, Roman, final two in the Rumble, Cena dumps over Roman, gets the title shot at WrestleMania, takes on Jinder, although that might have to be the main event then. I hope that it's not. Hopefully it will be earlier on in the show. Then maybe you can have Roman Reigns somehow get a title match versus Brock, but that means Roman and Cena are both going to be walking out of WrestleMania as world champion. They might even have a fucking Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit moment in the ring after the match. Who knows? Fans might not like that too much. So I know in some of the scenarios I'm laying out here, they don't sound pleasant. I will be the first one to admit that. But I kind of see like them going in that direction. And I think as it relates to the WWE title with AJ and Jinder, if the future plan is to put the belt back on Cena one more time, then I'd rather see Cena defeat Jinder than defeat AJ. Even though the match with AJ would be much better, it would just I'd prefer it, you know, if he beat Jinder, I guess. But that's going to be kind of a lame storyline, because John Cena is Mr. USA and all that crap, and Jinder is anti-USA, and then you have to have the stupid 80s type of feud between the two of them. As long as it doesn't last long, I can tolerate it. And if they want to put the belt on John Cena at WrestleMania, maybe he drops it 2 months later, maybe he drops it at SummerSlam, whatever, and then it's done. And he's finally broken Ric Flair's record, and you know, him winning future world titles isn't going to be on the top of WWE's priority list. We know one more reign for John Cena is coming, at least one more, and depending how long he stays in the ring is how WWE is going to gauge how many more titles to give him, I guess. So just like with the Roman Reigns situation, I really want to hear your opinions. What do you guys think about this? Where do you think they're going with AJ? Where do you think they're going with Jinder? Where do you think they're going with Cena? Cena was nowhere to be seen on Smackdown, so I don't know if it was just a one-shot deal for him to come in at Survivor Series. He's going to take the rest of the year off and then resurface in January and build to a match at WrestleMania. Or if he's going to show up on Smackdown between now and the end of the year, I really don't know. So I'm open to ideas. You guys let me know anything you think that they can do. If you want to lay out a scenario for AJ to hold on to the WWE title until WrestleMania, great, wonderful, fan-fucking-tastic. I would love to see that. But if he does that, where does that leave everybody else? That's the big question there. So interested to hear all of your opinions on that. As far as what else happened on SmackDown, not much. We had Shelton Benjamin defeating Jey Uso in a one-on-one match. They're going to get another title shot, Gable and Benjamin against the Usos at some point. They're building towards that. And we saw the TV debut of the Bludgeon Brothers. Now, they've been working some house shows, I know that, but now we finally got to see them on SmackDown. I really thought the vignettes were goofy, and I'm still not a big fan of them, but I feel a little bit better. The music is good. I do like the music, and I think I like their look. I like what they wear, that creepy-ass mask that Eric Rowan wears and Luke Harper. I mean, I think if a casual fan is tuning in to SmackDown and they don't watch wrestling and they take a look at those two guys making their entrance, I think they would say, wow, those guys look pretty awesome. So I think the look is kind of there. I hate the big fake sledgehammers, though. And Luke Harper looks to be in phenomenal shape. He's finally ditched the jeans and the wife beater. They're now wearing more of a gear. They look like a tag team because they're dressed similar and they're an actual team. WWE's investing in them. And the Bludgeon Bros beat the shit out of the Hype Bros in their TV debut. So Hopefully, Bludgeon Brothers will not wind up being a joke, because don't forget, this is the very same roster where you have Breezango and the Ascension and all that goofy shit going on with the Fashion Police and stuff. And if the Bludgeon Brothers get mixed up in that, then any believability they have as far as being like a scary ass-kicking team, that's going to be out the window, and they're going to be the Ascension Part 2. So for Luke Harper's sake, I'm really rooting for the success of the Bludgeon Brothers, because I like Luke Harper, and I think WWE has missed a lot of opportunities with that guy, and I would love to see him get some sort of a memorable run, whether it be singles, whether it be tag, whatever. So all I can do is hope for the best with the Bludgeon Brothers gimmick, but right now, I'm still not a very huge fan of it. So that is it. That pretty much wraps up your week of WWE TV. Like I said, War Games on Saturday night was such a fun show. I absolutely loved the Aleister Black and Velveteen Dream match. I thought the NXT title match was amazing, despite the fact that Drew McIntyre got injured, and it was kind of a funny finish there. Very happy for Cien Almas with his title run now. And with Zelina Vega by his side, this guy has really turned the corner, and I'm looking forward to what he can do as NXT champion, and I'm happy for him. I still don't know the latest on Drew McIntyre's injury. You guys might be able to fill me in on that. I have not seen any new reports. And then, of course, the War Games match was incredible. So much blood spilled, so many weapons used, very brutal, lived up to every degree of what a War Games match should be. And I commend all 9 of those guys for busting their asses out there. And then, of course, Survivor Series, AJ and Brock completely stole the show. Great, amazing match. Lots of good wrestling on that show. Tag team match was very good. The 5-on-5 match was good until the end. And we saw a lot of good things on Survivor Series as well. So there were definitely no shortages of things to complain about as far as Survivor Series weekend, but it also gave us some decent wrestling at the same time. And I think overall, I would grade the weekend a C+. Would you guys agree with that? Do you think that's a fair rating? If you take all of the shows, combine the averages of all the shows, you'd give the weekend a C+. I can't imagine giving it a lower rating than that, and I can't really imagine giving it a higher rating than that either. What else do I have written down in my notes before I get out of here? Hideo Itami, I did want to mention that. They did run a promo for him. He's going to be joining the 205 Live roster here very soon, I think maybe next week. He'll be making his debut on 205 Live, so that's good for him. Poor guy has been stuck in NXT. He came in with such amazing potential. WWE thought they were going to go really far with Kenta, and then he got injured, and he never just found his niche, really. Had some good matches in NXT and had his moments and stuff, but he never made it to that Kevin Owens or Shinsuke Nakamura or Bobby Roode type of level. He never came anywhere close. So they're throwing him on the 205 Live roster now, I guess just to use him, and he'll be a good addition, especially if Neville does not wind up coming back. Still don't know what the latest with Neville is. If he's worked things out, there have been some reports that he might be working things out with WWE, and he can return. I sure hope that he does, because I thought Neville was awesome. I thought Neville was money. I thought his heel run and his run as Cruiserweight champion for like 9 months was fucking amazing, and I can't believe the guy was so unhappy, because he was one of my favorite people on the roster to watch. And I think they eventually could move him back to the main roster. I know he's kind of stuck on 205 Live, stuck in the Cruiserweight division, but I was having a hard time believing that that was permanent. I know they like to keep all these guys together, but eventually you're going to have to move some guys on. Some guys are going to get too over. Some guys are going to be too good. You're going to have to move them up to the main roster. Drew Gulak needs to be on the main roster doing shit somewhere, because he's so good on the mic. When I say main roster, I mean Raw or Smackdown, but moved into some sort of a role on those shows, whether he's a manager for somebody or a sidekick or whatever. Give this guy the microphone as often as possible, because he's great. The only other thing I really have written in my notes, and I did mention something about this in my last video, is that David Otunga and Jennifer Hudson apparently are splitting up. They were never married. They've been engaged for like 10 years. There is some ugliness here. There's a custody battle because there's a child involved. Jennifer Hudson, I think, even filed like an order of protection against Otunga. So there's been some rumblings of maybe some domestic abuse. And of course, he totally denies it. I don't know who to believe in this situation. Really don't know. Seems like it's an ugly situation. I've seen one report where Otunga found out that Jennifer was cheating on him. So it seems like a really unfortunate situation. And I wish both of them the best. But if Otunga has got some, if she's accusing him of things, WWE might want to distance themselves from him. He was not on the Survivor Series kickoff, and I don't know if WWE is going to use him again until this situation gets cleared up. And if it doesn't, we might not be seeing David Otunga anytime soon. So whatever's going on there, I hope all is well. I also want to mention Kamala. I mentioned that in my video on Monday. Kamala is in very grave shape. As of recording this, it's going to take me a while. I'm probably not even going to edit this thing until Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon. So I don't know what's going to transpire in the next 24 hours. But Kamala is not doing well. Appears to be on his deathbed. He's on life support. And he's been doing better, and then he was getting worse, and nobody really knows what the deal is with him, but it's a shame. And if we wind up losing Kamala, my thoughts go out to his family and his friends for sure, because that guy was a legend. And I talked a little bit about Kamala in my last video, so please keep him in your thoughts this week. And that's going to be it for me. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up, say goodbye, get out of here. Again, I want to thank everybody for listening and wish you all a very safe, happy, and healthy holiday for those of you celebrating Thanksgiving on Thursday. Enjoy your weekend, enjoy your time with your family, and enjoy being off work if you are lucky enough to be off of work. And in closing this week, I would like to leave you all with this. I have a very special message for a fan of the show. I got an email from this gentleman a couple of weeks ago, back on November 9th. Didn't see this for a couple of days because I'm way behind on reading my emails, but once I read it, I decided that I wanted to share it with all of you. Now, when you're a podcaster or when you're somebody that's in the public eye, you're going to have your fans. You're going to have people sending you well wishes. You're going to get fan mail. I know that better than anyone. I have a whole folder in my Gmail box dedicated to fan mail, hundreds of messages in there, and some of them have been pretty amazing. I mean, I get all sorts of messages from, hey, just wanted to say hello, I love your content, keep up the good work and take care, to your commentaries got me through the war. Your commentaries got me through my time in the military. I was having suicidal thoughts and I was very depressed, and then I stumbled across your channel and it gave me something to look forward to every day, and your work saved my life. I get some crazy emails like that, and I cannot tell you how appreciative I am of that and how much, I promise you, I do read them. You know, I read all of my fan mail. I always do. And, sometimes I consider those conversations, especially some of the deeper ones, to be between me and that audience member. No reason to bring it out in the public. No reason to mention it in a commentary. I've mentioned some of my fan mail and Q&As and stuff like that in the past. But some of the mail I get can be really eye-opening sometimes, and sometimes can really take me back. And I hear a lot of amazing stories, and I hear a lot of sad stories. And unfortunately, this is a sad one. Gentleman named Nate, longtime listener of the channel, very loyal listener, recently just lost his best friend at only 40 years old. And he sent me an email, and I'm going to read it to you word for word what he said, and I just think everybody needs to hear it. Nate writes me and says, hello, hope all is well. My name is Nate, and I've been listening to your channel for about 5 years. I love your content and always found you to be rational as well as entertaining. I don't have a question for you rather than a request if possible. I lost my best friend Mike yesterday. He was 40 years old. Our friendship was cemented on our mutual love for wrestling, especially when we found out that our favorite wrestler was Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. For the past 16 years, we were inseparable when it came to wrestling. We did it all from pay-per-view to house shows. We actually found your channel while waiting for Raw to start and have been hooked ever since. We would listen to your videos while we were at work religiously. There was a time when I would break his balls and tell him that I thought he was in fact good mic work due to the fact that his views would always match yours, and you both have an undying love for Bret Hart and Randy Savage. I was hoping, if possible, if you could shout out Mike in one of your episodes. I think Mike would get a kick out of that. If not, for whatever reason you may have, I want you to know and understand that there are no hard feelings. Either way, I appreciate you and your channel. Thank you for your time, and keep up the great work. Absolutely, Nate. I would be happy to. Very sad to hear about Mike's death. I know that's horrible. I can relate to having a longtime kind of wrestling buddy, a guy that I grew up with. We went to shows for about the same amount of time that you and Mike did. And I know what that's like. And Mike and I were the same age. And, for him to pass like that is very sad. And I'm really sorry to hear that. I appreciate Mike's support of the channel. I appreciate yours. And I wish you the very best dealing with the loss of your friend. And my thoughts and my heart goes out to Mike's family as well. But absolutely, Mike, if you're there somewhere in the multiverse listening, thank you very much for always appreciating the channel, being a supporter of the channel, and being a listener. It sounds like you and Nate had a special relationship and a special friendship, and I know it meant a lot to him. So I just wanted to shout out Mike and acknowledge his passing, and if you guys want to throw Mike a kind word in the comments below, feel free. Nathan or Nate, you did not provide me with any social media contacts. If you're on Twitter, give me a shout on Twitter. If you're listening to this commentary, show yourself in the comments below, and I'm sure everybody will send you a lot of love because my listeners are awesome, and they will usually always step up for a situation like this. So anyway, just wanted to say thank you for the email. I'm sorry for your loss. Sounds like Mike was a great guy, and my heart goes out to you. So you take care of yourself. That is it for me for this week. Like I said, please enjoy your holiday and please be safe. You will hear from me next week, probably at normal time for episode 470. If I can get up here on Monday after Raw, if I'm home and I have nothing to do, I will. So keep a lookout to the YouTube channel for a potential live review on Monday. If not, I will catch you this time next week for episode 470. You guys take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you very soon. Until next time, peace.